There's a town in Florida where they kept a dead man's body in a bathtub for weeks because they were convinced he was going to come back to life. And that's not even the weirdest town on this list. Florida has places where elephants in your front yard are perfectly legal, where Disney built a utopia that ended with an axe murder, and where a 68-year-old woman got arrested for doing things at the town square that would make your grandmother faint. Or participate. Honestly, it's Florida. These are the 10 weirdest towns in the Sunshine State, ranked from, okay, that's quirky, to how is this a real place? We're talking a town named after breakfast, a retirement community with a higher body count than some action movies, and a Moorish palace city hall run by convicted felons. If you don't hit subscribe by the end of this video, a skunk ape is going to crawl out of the Everglades and unsubscribe you from life. You've been warned. Let's start with number 10. Number 10. Seaside. On Florida's panhandle, tucked along the white sand beaches of Walton County, sits an 80-acre town with roughly 180 full-time residents and some of the most aggressive homeowner rules you've ever heard of. Seaside is the town where they filmed The Truman Show. And honestly, after learning how this place works, the movie wasn't much of a stretch. Founder Robert S. Davis inherited this beachfront land from his grandfather in 1978. He hired architects Andres Duany and Elizabeth Plater-Zyberg, and personally stood out on the Florida highway in the heat, handing out free lemonade to passing drivers, trying to lure them into listening to his vision for a perfect community. Construction started in 1981, and what came out of it was the birthplace of the new urbanism movement. Here's where it gets controlling. The town's published urban code mandates white-painted wood picket fences at every single lot line facing the street. No two fence patterns on the same block can be identical. An architectural review committee has to approve your paint colors, your porch additions, even your chimney trim. Trash cans have to be hidden at all times. There's no street parking. Every cottage must be architecturally distinct from its neighbor, which is why the place looks like someone shook a bag of dollhouses onto a beach. The median home price hovers around $2.9 million. A 6-bedroom rental called Motion goes for $2,250 a night, and almost nobody actually lives there full-time. It's basically a rotating cast of tourists pretending to be residents on a movie set. Architects from around the world were invited to design individual cottages, including Leon Creer, who later became Prince Charles's architect at Poundbury in England, and Robert A.M. Stern, who went on to design buildings for Disney and Yale. The result is a curated jumble of Victorian, modernist, and postmodern beach houses that looks incredible in photos and deeply uncanny in person. Visitors describe walking the brick-paved streets as both pleasant and unsettling in roughly equal measure. It feels like a town that was built to be looked at rather than lived in, which of course is exactly why Hollywood came calling. The twist that gets me is this. The location fee money from The Truman Show was used to fund the Seaside Neighborhood School, which opened in 1996 as Florida's first charter school. So Florida's entire charter school movement was technically bankrolled by Jim Carrey playing a guy who didn't know his whole life was fake. That tracks. Number 9. Two Egg. In Jackson County, about an hour west of Tallahassee, roughly 200 people live at a crossroads officially called Two Egg. There's no charter, no mayor, no town hall, just road signs pointing at an intersection that used to be called Allison, after the Sawmill brothers who logged the local pines. The name comes from the Great Depression. The most accepted version says a Mr. Pittman ran the general store, and two young brothers showed up so often to trade exactly 2 eggs for sugar that locals started calling it the Two Egg Store. A traveling salesman eventually just started addressing his packages there. The name first showed up on official Florida highway maps in 1941. Today, the road signs get stolen so often that residents have basically given up replacing them. The real weirdness is the Two Egg Stump Jumper, a local cryptid described as a mini Bigfoot, roughly 5 feet tall, stocky and muscular, covered in white or gray hair, with a flat, human-like face. Sightings cluster around Old Paramore Ghost Town. In 2013, 6 eyewitnesses simultaneously heard the creature growling in the thickets near Paramore Landing without ever seeing it. There's a nearby swamp officially named Stump Jumper Slough on county maps, which means the government acknowledged the creature enough to name a swamp after it. Two Egg also sits in Wampus Cat Country, the Cherokee half-woman, half-mountain lion legend that locals use to scare children indoors at dusk. And the nearby Bellamy Bridge is supposedly haunted by Elizabeth Bellamy, whose wedding dress caught fire on her wedding day, killing her. So if you're looking for a place where the real estate comes with a cryptid, a ghost, and an unexplained name, Two Egg is your spot. Number 8. Ocho-P. Deep inside Big Cypress National Preserve, about 65 miles west of Miami on the Tamiami Trail, 11 people live in a settlement called Ocho-P. And those 11 people have the smallest post office in the entire United States. It measures 8 feet 4 inches by 7 feet. That's 61 square feet of floor space. Your bathroom is bigger. Originally a tomato farming settlement in 1928, the town's general store and original post office burned in a fire in 1953. Postmaster Sidney Brown needed a solution fast. Someone pointed him to a tool shed out back that had been used to store irrigation pipe. Workers dragged it to the highway, stuck a counter inside, and opened for business the next day. It's been the smallest post office in America ever since. 40 P.O. boxes, 1 clerk, no lobby, no bathroom. The nearest restroom is 3 miles away. Alligators routinely sunbathe in the parking lot, and snakes have been known to slither across the clerk's feet while she sells stamps. 1 mile up the road sits the Skunk Ape Research Headquarters, run by Dave Sheely at Trail Lakes Campground. Dave claims he first saw the creature at age 10, has seen it 4 more times since, and estimates 7 to 9 skunk apes currently live in the Everglades. He describes them as 6 to 7 feet tall, 350 to 450 pounds, covered in reddish-black hair with only 4 toes. His recommended bait includes wetted lima beans and iced deer liver. He captured 27 photographs in 1997 and claims to have 15 minutes of video from 2000. In May 2024, USA Today readers voted his headquarters the #1 roadside attraction in Florida and #2 nationally. Dave reportedly has a film in production, so the skunk ape might be going Hollywood. Next door is Joni's Blue Crab Cafe, where bears harass the kitchen so aggressively that the owners installed an electrified fence at the back door. 1 bear ate the doorknob before they got the voltage right. Welcome to Ocho-P. Population 11. Amenities include stamps, alligators, and a man who hunts swamp Bigfoot with frozen deer liver. Number 7. Celebration. Disney announced Celebration in 1991, broke ground in 1994, and moved in the first family on June 18, 1996. Built on 4,900 acres carved from Disney's original 1965 land purchase near Orlando, the town was supposed to be America's perfect neighborhood. Philip Johnson designed the Welcome Center. Michael Graves did the post office. Caesar Pelli handled the movie theater. Over 5,000 people paid deposits just for the lottery to buy one of the first 474 homes. Total investment exceeded $2.5 billion. Then Disney sold the downtown to a private equity firm called Lexan Capital in 2004 for roughly $22 million. And that's when things started falling apart. Thanksgiving week 2010, Celebration imploded. A retired teacher named Matteo Giovandito was found in his condo, strangled and attacked with an axe. The killer was a 28-year-old homeless man named David Murillo, whose photo was later found on Giovandito's computer. A 2014 investigation revealed Giovandito had been a serial predator who abused students at schools in Miami Beach and Davy going back to the 1980s. 3 days after the murder, a former airline pilot named Craig Fushi barricaded himself in his Celebration home and engaged a SWAT team in a 14-hour standoff before taking his own life. Celebration Elementary was locked down twice that week. The physical decay matched the headlines. By 2016, the Wall Street Journal ran a front-page story about residents filing suit against the developer for $15 to $20 million in repairs. Balconies sloped toward buildings. Walls trapped moisture. Over 100 residents were living under blue tarps. And every Christmas, soapflake snow still falls from machines downtown, because nobody is ever supposed to see anything ugly in Celebration. If you're enjoying this deep dive into Florida's strangest places, do me a favor and tap that like button. It helps more people find these videos, and I promise the rest of this list gets even wilder. Number 6. Yeehaw Junction, a census-designated place of 235 people sitting at the intersection of US 441, State Road 60, and Florida's Turnpike. It's at the southern end of the longest stretch of limited-access highway in the United States without an exit. a 90-mile run with no off-ramp. The town was originally called Jackass Crossing, and sometimes Jackass Junction, because in the 1930s, local ranchers would ride their burros here to visit the brothel above the Desert Inn. When the Florida Turnpike went through in 1957, state officials decided Jackass Crossing was too crude for tourists. Officially, Yeehaw comes from the Creek word yaha, meaning wolf. While unofficially, locals point out that yeehaw is approximately the sound a jackass makes. So the name changed, but the joke didn't. The Desert Inn was the heart of the town, dating back to 1889. In the 1930s, a fired railroad employee who allegedly abandoned his train at the junction expanded it with Sinclair oil pumps on the ground floor and a working brothel upstairs. It served segregated dining for black cowboys, white cattle drovers, and Seminoles. It didn't get full water and electricity until 1978. The upper floor was preserved as a bordello museum with red carpets, lace pillows, and a swing. On December 22, 2019, a truck driver hauling orange juice missed his turn in the dark and slammed an 18-wheeler into the front of the historic building. After years of failed restoration, the Desert Inn was demolished in September 2024. The town's darker secret is that in late 1968, the U.S. military's Deseret Test Center conducted a covert biological warfare experiment here, releasing stem rust on a test wheat crop to see if it could destroy enemy food supplies. Project 112, test number 69 to 75. So yes, the government once used Yeehaw Junction as a biological weapons testing site, and the brothel museum was still the more popular attraction. Number 5. Cassadaga. In Volusia County, 35 miles north of Orlando, a 57-acre spiritualist camp of about 52 cottages is the only town in the southeastern United States that officially certifies mediums. Around 43 certified mediums live and work on the property, and there's a whiteboard in the Welcome Center listing who's available for walk-in readings on any given day. Founder George Colby claimed his abilities started in childhood when his Baptist parents baptized him by cutting a hole in frozen ice and dunking him through it, an experience he said thinned the veil between the living and the dead. In 1875, during a seance, his spirit guide named Seneca told him to travel to Florida and establish a great camp. Colby took a boat up the St. Johns River, walked through dense scrub, and found the exact 7 hills Seneca had shown him in a vision. He claimed the local spring water cured his tuberculosis. The Southern Cassadaga Spiritualist Camp Meeting Association was chartered on December 18, 1894. Becoming a certified medium here takes a minimum of 4 years, often 6 or more. Applicants submit a letter of intent, an action plan of study, and a student's oath of ethics, then pass review by both the Certification Committee and the Education Committee. Coursework includes psychic development, mediumship, healing, something called platform decorum, and ethics. The Cassadaga Hotel, built in 1927, has no phones and no TVs. The hot water shuts off after 10 p.m. to avoid, and I'm quoting the management here, interfering with spiritual pathways. Guests under 21 are banned. Resident ghosts include Arthur, an Irish tenor from the 1930s who supposedly never checked out, and 2 child spirits named Caitlin and Sarah heard giggling in the hallways. The most notorious site is the Devil's Chair in the Lake Helen Cemetery. Built in the 1920s as a mourning bench for a widower with arthritis, the legend says an unopened beer can left on it. Overnight will be completely empty but still sealed by morning, because the devil drinks it. Halloween vandalism is so bad they post a security guard, and mediums occasionally block the road, claiming to be mid-conversation with the deceased. Number 4. The Villages. Straddling 3 counties, spanning 90 square miles, containing roughly 70,000 homes and about 150,000 residents, The Villages is the fastest-growing metro area in the entire United States. Median age is 73. Only 0.4% of residents are under 18. At least 65,000 golf carts operate on 90 miles of dedicated paths. People under 19 cannot legally live there and may visit a maximum of 30 days per year. It is essentially a gated country for senior citizens. Founder Harold Schwartz was a Chicago mail-order land salesman whose business collapsed after a 1968 federal law banned mail-order real estate. Stuck with useless Central Florida pasture land, he and a partner opened a struggling trailer park. After buying his partner out in 1983 and teaming up with his son Gary Morse, Schwartz rebranded it as The Villages in 1992. Side note, Schwartz previously co-owned high-wattage Mexican border-buster radio stations and is credited with discovering Wolfman Jack. So the man behind America's largest retirement community also launched one of the most famous radio voices in history. The town squares have entirely invented histories, with fabricated plaques and fake founding stories. Live entertainment runs every night. The scandals are legendary. In June 2014, a 68-year-old woman and a 49-year-old man were arrested for public indecency at the Lake Sumter Landing Pavilion, the same square where former presidents had given speeches. She'd been on probation for a golf cart DUI 4 days earlier. A local bar invented a cocktail called Sex on the Square. 4 months later, another couple was caught in the same situation on a utility box at the Morris Boulevard roundabout at 8:42 in the morning. Both got 6 months. Then there's the loofah code. In January 2023, an Orlando drag queen posted a TikTok claiming that Village's residents tie colored loofahs to their golf cart antennas to signal swinging preferences. White means you're new. Pink means soft swap. Black means go time. The video went massively viral. A retired couple later scanned roughly 2,000 golf carts in the community and found exactly 0 loofahs. It's largely a joke that the internet decided was real. The STD capital reputation traces back to a single unnamed gynecologist in 2006, and actual public health data shows normal rates for the area. But try telling that to TikTok. The golf cart carnage is very real, though. Sumter County logged 85 golf cart accidents in the first 6 months of 2024. Multiple DUI manslaughter cases have been filed in recent years, and in December 2021, 3 residents were arrested for casting ballots in 2 states during the 2020 election. If you've made it this far, you clearly appreciate the deeply unhinged side of American real estate. Hit subscribe because the top 3 towns on this list make everything before them look normal. Trust me. Number 3, Gibsonton. Just south of Tampa, Gibsonton, or Gibtown as locals call it, was an ordinary fishing village until 1924 when 2 carnival cookhouse operators named Eddie and Grace LeMay stopped by the Alafia River, caught dinner in minutes, and decided to stay. They opened a restaurant and urged their fellow carnival workers to join them. Word spread. Proximity to Ringling Brothers' winter quarters made it the perfect off-season home for sideshow performers. And Hillsborough County did something no other county in America has ever done. They created a zoning designation called residential show business, which legally permitted residents to keep elephants, tigers, grizzly bears, llamas, monkeys, Ferris wheels, and trapeze rigs in their front and backyards. The post office had a specially lowered counter for little people, the first in the nation. The town's anchor couple was Al Taimani, billed at 8'4" but actually 7'4", and his wife Jeannie, born without legs, standing 2 feet 6 inches tall. They married in 1936, toured as the world's strangest married couple, and settled in Gibsonton, where Al simultaneously served as volunteer fire chief and deputy sheriff. Other residents included Priscilla Bajano, known as the Monkey Girl, who had a rare condition causing full-body hair growth and 2 rows of teeth, and Melvin Burkhart, the human blockhead, who hammered 6-inch spikes into his own nostrils until his death at 94 in 2001. The defining story of Gibsonton is Grady Stiles Jr., known as Lobster Boy. Born in 1937 with ectrodactyly, a genetic condition, producing claw-like hands and feet, Stiles couldn't walk but had tremendous upper body strength. In September 1978, the night before his daughter's wedding, he shot her fiancé dead in the kitchen. He was convicted but got only 15 years probation because Florida prisons said they couldn't accommodate his disability. He continued abusing his family for years. On November 29, 1992, his wife Mary Teresa and stepson Harry Newman paid a 17-year-old neighbor named Christopher Wyant $1,500 to shoot him. Wyant fired 2 rounds into Stiles' head while he sat watching television in his underwear. 10 people came to the funeral. Nobody volunteered to be a pallbearer. The coffin flowers read, "From your loving wife." Number 2, Opa-locka. Aviation pioneer Glenn Curtiss chartered Opa-locka on May 14, 1926, with just 28 voters. Inspired by the 1924 Douglas Fairbanks film The Thief of Baghdad, Curtiss hired architect Bernhard Muller to design over 100 Moorish revival buildings with onion domes, minarets, and Saracenic arches. 20 of them are now on the National Register. Streets were named Ali Baba Avenue, Shahrazad Boulevard, Sinbad Avenue, Aladdin Street, and Sesame Street. City Hall looks like a palace from the Arabian Nights. It was built for $150,000 in 1926. The Great Miami Hurricane of September 1926 crushed the dream months after the grand opening. Opa-locka never recovered. Aviation kept it alive for a while. Amelia Earhart launched her final round-the-world flight from the airport here, and the German dirigible Graf Zeppelin made stops. In the 1950s, Building 67 at Opa-locka Airport became a CIA station where operatives ran the 1954 Guatemala coup and prepped for the Bay of Pigs invasion. Then it became one of the most violent and corrupt places in America. In 2004, Opa-locka had the highest violent crime rate of any city in the country. The FBI raided City Hall in 2016 and uncovered a kickback ring shaking down businesses. Commissioner Terrence Pinder, the day before he was supposed to surrender on bribery charges, drove a city-owned SUV at nearly 100 miles per hour into a tree at Opa-locka Executive Airport. City Manager David Chiverton got 38 months in federal prison. Commissioner Luis Santiago got 51 months. The mayor's husband, son, and sister were all charged in a separate campaign fraud scheme. Governor Rick Scott declared a financial emergency twice. The city went through 11 city managers in 8 years. In 2020, a bill was filed in the state legislature to dissolve Opa-locka entirely and wipe it off the map. The police chief, James Dobson, was fired in 2020 after he refused to discipline an officer who ticketed the mayor's cousin. He sued and won a $500,000 whistleblower settlement in 2024. So the one guy who actually tried to enforce the law got fired, and the people breaking it got reelected. The City Hall with the onion domes finally reopened in 2025 as a cultural arts center. Beautiful, restored, surrounded by one of the highest crime rates in America. A fairy tale where the ending doesn't match the architecture. Number 1. Estero. Just south of Fort Myers, on 305 acres now preserved as Coruscant State Park, stand the remains of one of the strangest religious experiments in American history. Founder Cyrus Reed Teed was born in 1839 in Utica, New York. In 1869, while experimenting with high-voltage alchemy in his home laboratory, he electrocuted himself unconscious. When he came to, he claimed a divine female form of God had appeared and revealed the secrets of the universe to him. He renamed himself Koresh, which is Hebrew for Cyrus, meaning shepherd. The same name David Koresh would adopt over a century later at Waco. His cosmology was called cellular cosmogony, and it held that the Earth is a hollow sphere and we live on the inside surface, with the sun, stars, and moon all suspended in the center. To prove it, Teed and a follower named Ulysses Morrow built a device called the rectilineator and conducted the Coruscant Geodetic Survey on Naples Beach in 1897. They reported that it confirmed the Earth was concave. Followers were required to be celibate to achieve immortality. Property was communal. Leadership was female, governed by a council called the Seven Sisters of the Planetary Court. In 1894, Teed moved 200 followers from Chicago into a remote swamp at Estero and built what he called the New Jerusalem. A bakery producing 600 loaves daily, a printing house, the World College of Life, a general store, an art hall that hosted operas attended by Thomas Edison and Henry Ford, a power plant that electrified surrounding communities years before anyone else in the area had electricity. Membership peaked at 250. The ultimate vision was a city of 10 million people. Teed died on December 22, 1908 at age 69. A Fort Myers marshal had pistol-whipped him 2 years earlier, and he never fully recovered. His followers refused to accept it. Convinced he would resurrect, they placed his body in a bathtub and held a 24-hour vigil at his mausoleum, waiting for him to sit up and return to life. Days passed, then weeks. The vigil continued until local health officials were forced to intervene and order burial, by which point the situation had become, let's say, biologically undeniable. Teed was finally entombed on Estero Island. Then in 1921, a hurricane struck the Gulf Coast and washed his tomb out to sea. The prophet's body was never recovered. The man who believed we live inside the earth ended up being swallowed by it. The cult dwindled. The last surviving member, Hedwig Michel, a German Jewish woman who had fled Nazi persecution in 1940, took over leadership. By 1960, membership was down to 4. She deeded the 305 acres to the state of Florida, and Coruscant State Park opened in 1967. About a dozen original buildings still stand today. Visitors can walk through the bamboo forest planted by people who genuinely believed they were standing on the inside of a hollow ball, waiting for a dead man to climb out of a bathtub and lead them to immortality. And that is the weirdest town in Florida. Every single one of these places started as someone's attempt to escape the ordinary world, through architecture, through age, through occupation, through the supernatural, or through the sheer force of believing the earth was inside out. And in almost every case, the escape worked too well. Disney built a utopia and got an axe murder. Glenn Curtis built an Arabian fantasy and got the most corrupt small city in the country. Cyrus Teed built a hollow universe and dissolved into the Gulf of Mexico. Florida doesn't just attract weird, it manufactures it. And the scariest part is, every single one of these towns is still on the map. Except for the Desert Inn. A truck full of orange juice took that one out. If you made it to the end of this video, you are now legally a Florida expert. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive, drop a comment with which town disturbed you the most, and I'll see you in the next one.